Hi, I'm Michelle Lombana, and just a few short years ago, I was in your position with a swimmer in high school who was hoping to become a college swimmer. Probably like you have, I heard parents of older swimmers talk about the college recruiting process, but I didn't feel like I knew much about it. After going through the experience, I learned a lot. My son is very happy where he is, both with the school and the swimming, but there is much that I would have done differently to simplify the process for myself and my son. And now I'm able to share my knowledge to help other parents and swimmers navigate the journey more efficiently and confidently. Many parents expect their club coaches to do everything. Their job is to coach. Club coaches are a great resource, and they're happy to help when asked for advice and to call college coaches as a reference, but very few are going to conduct a college search for you. Your club coach may suggest some programs, but he won't do a full search covering academic majors and other preferences specific to your swimmer. Only you can do that. Your coach will help your child come up with some achievable goals in terms of times, which will help guide your college search. As the school gets serious about your child, the coach will likely ask for a reference from your club coach. They want to be sure the child is coachable, a good sport, a hard worker, and so on. The process of becoming a collegiate swimmer can be overwhelming. However, there are ways to make it go more smoothly. Your coaches have probably told you, if you want to swim in college, there is a place for everyone. There are approximately 650 swim programs for girls and 550 swim programs for guys with a wide range of swim levels and academics. A lot of our kids have grown up thinking they'll swim for the local flagship university. That's not realistic for most kids, but it certainly does not mean that they can't swim in college. You have to consider several factors, and your child needs to make some decisions. The first step is for your child to decide whether he wants to swim in college. This requires some soul searching and probably several discussions with you, his parents. He needs to consider several things, including the level of commitment. It's like a job, especially during swim season with meets on school nights and possible travel on weekends. It can be difficult to keep grades up with a rigorous practice schedule. It's hard to manage their time, although some students are actually more effective when they're busy. And most of the social life and extracurriculars centers around swim teammates. There's not much time for other activities. Some work in a few clubs, but nothing too demanding. There are definitely benefits of swimming in college. They include academic assistance. This is huge. Athletes often get early course registration. After having 2 sons in college before my swimmer, I can tell you what a benefit this is. My older 2 had to make backup schedules, go through drop ad to get courses, ask professors to add seats, etc. My swimmer had no trouble getting his classes as he registered before his classmates. There's also tutoring. Athletes often get free tutoring and have access to an athlete study lounge. It's a good place to study. Some schools have mandatory study hall, and others only require it if an athlete dips below a certain GPA. And the community of friends. I can't begin to describe how helpful this is. Swimmers usually have group messages going on through the summer, and freshmen can ask questions and get to know their teammates. I can't think of any schools where this hasn't been the case. On move-in day, in our experience, the upper-class swimmers went from dorm to dorm welcoming the freshmen. I loved it because I had a lot of mom questions when the team captains came by. They were very gracious and said they expected such questions. In the cafeteria at lunch, several upper-class swimmers saw my son wearing his swimming and diving t-shirt, and they came over to meet him and welcome him to the school. I had such a comfortable feeling when leaving him after move-in due to the community he had already established. And there's also discipline. Our kids are used to the discipline of swimming, the schedule, and having to use their time wisely. I believe it makes a lot of them more productive. There's fun also. The swimmers on the team have fun together. They socialize and they compete in campus activities. And then there's identity. There's a certain level of prestige or recognition involved in being a college level athlete. This identity is important to some kids, whether it's just the thrill of ringing the victory bell on campus after a team win or wearing their team swag around campus. There's no right or wrong answer about swimming in college. Only your swimmer can decide. It's a good idea to conduct 2 college searches, one for swimming in college and the other for attending college without swimming. Some kids are simply not sure if they want to swim in college or not, and others may only want to swim if they can do it at their dream school. I made my son apply to one in-state school as a safety. As it turned out, the application fee was a charitable contribution, but it was good insurance at the time. I've known a lot of swimmers who have planned to swim in college and something has happened. An injury, they didn't keep their grades up, they changed their mind, and they had nowhere to go in the fall. This happened to a friend of ours last year. His second semester of senior year was so bad that the college retracted their offer for him to swim there until he brought his grades up somewhere else for freshman year. Many factors affect the college experience, whether they swim in college or not. There's climate. If they hate the cold, they're going to be miserable in Massachusetts no matter what. There's size. Some kids do better at a small school with smaller class sizes, and some kids thrive at large schools. And there's location. Does your child want to stick close to home? Does she prefer a big city or a location with a lot of outdoor activities? At other schools, students go into the nearest city most weekends for social events. Academic majors are important for all students, since the goal of college for most students is to get a degree and to be prepared to earn a living. A lot of high school students are undecided as to the area of study they want to pursue. This is fine. Those who think they know what they want often change their mind anyway. Pick a school with a large selection of majors so they can explore and so there are options if they want to change majors. Most schools offer a pretty good selection, but they might not want to choose a specialized school like Embry-Riddle if they're not into aeronautical engineering or something. Admissions requirements are also important, and there are several schools of thought on this. At a lot of schools, swimming can get your student in the door when they might not otherwise qualify on their own. This can be desirable as long as your 2.0 GPA student is not trying to go to Yale, where he wouldn't be able to keep up with the coursework. This is an exaggeration, as coaches can offer support positions through admissions, but the athlete usually has to be somewhere within the range of being accepted. Say maybe the mid-range ACT score is a 27 to a 30 and your student has a 25. If he has an 18, the coach probably cannot do a lot to help. After identifying the type of environment that would be best, your child needs to decide where they want to fit on the college team. Some kids are happiest going in at the top, setting school records as freshmen. Others just want to be part of the team every day, and they don't mind being near the bottom and not traveling to the big meets. They participate more for the camaraderie and the exercise than the competition. And then others like being in the middle of the pack, where they contribute, but they have room to move up. Most teams have about 28 males and 28 females, although I've seen it range from 16 to 45. NCAA Division I rules only allow 18 swimmers and divers combined to compete at the conference championship meet. That means about 10 kids on each team, male and female, are left behind. Your child needs to think about whether he'll mind not traveling to the big meets. Again, there is no right or wrong answer here. It depends on your child. Think about what drives your child and how he is most successful and happiest where he feels the most comfortable. There are swim programs in all of the different divisions, and there are good options in all the divisions, with a wide range of swim times, levels of commitment, and academic rigor. There are no hard and fast rules, but there are some general rules of thumb. Division III tends to be less of a commitment, and the season doesn't last quite as long, and the coaches may be more understanding if a student has to miss practice. Many of the strongest academic schools are in Division III. There are no athletic scholarships, but they can frequently find money in other areas. We'll talk more about this later. Division II and NAIA tend to be smaller schools, and they're often not as competitive to gain admission. The NJCAA is junior colleges and community colleges around the country. And then Division I is the one you hear the most about. A lot of kids think they want to swim only in Division I. Often the schools have higher name recognition, so they've heard of them. It's easy to get caught up in the idea of the larger, well-known universities with the big names and the bigger athletic budgets. The athletes get everything from free Nike shoes to free protein shakes after practice to nicer dorms. But in the end, remember, the important thing is the degree. My son is at what's known as a Division I mid-major school. He doesn't get free shoes and many of the other goodies, but he already has dozens of free shirts. He got a free tech suit for conference champs, and he's getting a great education. It's advisable to look at schools in several divisions so you can really concentrate on the individual schools and what they offer. Recruiting rules vary between divisions, so it's important to be familiar with them regarding when coaches can contact swimmers and so on. I have an NCAA rules summary and recruiting calendar on my website, and I'll send them to you if you sign up for my email list. You can find out what division a school is in by looking on the athletic website for a school, Googling the division, or looking at collegeswimming.com. A word of warning though, I found several errors on collegeswimming.com regarding which conference schools are in. I have a list of college swim programs sorted both alphabetically and by division and conference for College Swimming Guide members, as well as an explanation of the differences between divisions. Correctly identifying target schools is where it gets tough. Coaches are typically most interested in recording swimmers who can score at the conference championship meet. This is the big taper meet that occurs at the end of the season in February or March. Most conferences have A and B finals, but a few have A, B, and C finals. Coaches often have time standards to recruit athletes. Some will share these with you and others won't. They're usually the top 16 in the conference, although they could vary. One coach told me the other day that they recruit times within 1% of 24th place in the conference. So some programs obviously have stricter time standards regarding recruiting than others. Now, how to go about correctly identifying target schools. You need to look up times required to score in each conference to see where your swimmer would have placed. It's a good idea to do this at the end of sophomore year just to get a rough idea of conferences to target. And it's more meaningful after your taper meet in junior year to see where your swimmer really stands. Determining the right conferences to pursue can be a trial and error process at first. If your child would have placed 49th at conference champs, you might want to look at conferences that are a little slower. Similarly, if your child would have placed first in a conference, you might want to look at faster conferences. If a school has an academic program that's perfect for your child, they can certainly decide they want to be first in the conference. A coach will be thrilled to have them on the team. I know of several kids who used swimming to get into a higher level academic school. They are among the fastest on the team, but they don't mind because they're thrilled to be at the school. After identifying realistic conferences, look at the schools within those conferences. You should explore a lot of conferences and a lot of schools. College coaches can act interested as sophomores and juniors, then not offer invitations for visits or stop answering emails. Swimmers can decide a school's not for them for various reasons as well. And just like swimmers are looking at a lot of schools, coaches are looking at a lot of swimmers, so you need a lot of options. One of the perks of College Swimming Guide is that I have compiled the spreadsheets for you with conference championship meet times, as well as the list of schools in each conference and the top event times at each school to save you the time of looking them up. After compiling a list of possible schools, research them to see if they have the academic majors and other characteristics your child wants, location, climate, etc. Swimmers should reach out to coaches to identify themselves and to begin a dialogue. I give templates to College Swimming Guide members along with lists of questions for this. As parents, it's fine to help your children with the research and with making some of the decisions. When it comes to the communication, though, the swimmer needs to handle that. I know a dad who wrote all of his daughter's emails. He would slip and say, when my daughter was emailing the coach at XYZ school, we would laugh about it, but I wondered what would happen when his daughter started receiving phone calls from coaches and she didn't even know who or what she had emailed. The question on everyone's mind always seems to be scholarships. I've heard parents talk about expecting full rides for their kids from the time they're 10 or 11. Unfortunately, swimming is not a money sport, so the athletic scholarships are not plentiful. There are many more for girls than guys, but still not a lot. However, there are other sources of money, from academic to merit awards for service and leadership experience. Personally, I'm more comfortable with academic and merit awards, as the student won't lose the scholarship if something happens and he can no longer swim. Schools often stack awards, so a swimmer gets a certain amount of athletic money as well as money from other sources. There's one school that gives each male swimmer $250 so they can say they're on scholarship. That doesn't even cover one college textbook, but it's better than nothing, and the kids do like to say they earned a swim scholarship. There are also need-based financial awards. You can get an idea of whether or not you'll qualify by going on a college's website and looking at the financial aid page and filling out the "what will it cost" calculator. Scholarship questions are the toughest to ask, and we're expecting our 17-year-olds to handle these conversations. It's best to wait until they have established a pretty solid dialogue with a coach, preferably on the phone, to bring it up. Ideally, the coach will bring it up, usually late in junior year before they start scheduling official visits. But it's sometimes not addressed until a swimmer receives an offer from the coach. If it makes a difference in whether a swimmer can attend a school, he's going to have to ask. Coaches don't want to waste their time or recruiting budget focusing on kids who can't afford their school. And you don't want to go on an official visit without having the discussion because you don't want to spend one of your visits on a school that's not a real possibility. When should we begin? That's a question I get all the time. Of course, students should be working hard in school and swimming through all 4 years of high school. But regarding recruiting, freshman year is a bit early. Kids change too much during high school to know if they truly want to swim in college when they're in ninth grade. But you can talk about college in general and about career interests at this point. And if they have older siblings, you might take them along on college tours. Sophomore year is time to start focusing. Take college tours, talk about characteristics of colleges, think about swimming in college, research colleges, reach out, introduce themselves to colleges. And in some divisions, the coaches cannot reply, but they'll file the emails they receive from prospective student athletes to get back to them when they can. Junior year is when it gets serious. Finalize criteria relating to desired schools, take more college tours, continue to research colleges and academic programs, and reach out to coaches and begin a dialogue with those at target schools. Senior year is when students go on official or unofficial visits, receive offers to join a swim program, and make a final decision. I have asked college coaches throughout the country 15 questions about their programs and recruiting, ranging from a typical practice schedule to number of scholarships available to when they want swimmers to first contact them, and even more. The answers I've received from coaches so far is pretty divided between them, preferring to be contacted by sophomores or in the very beginning of junior year. The biggest challenge is creating the target list. If you're contacting the wrong schools, you're wasting time. Understanding the process is important, to take the right steps and to stay organized along the way. Every year I know of many kids who wanted to swim in college, but they didn't start the research early enough. By fall of senior year, both the swimmers and parents realized they were too late to start then. The kids reached out to some schools, but it was random, not a focused search. And the coaches they reached out to weren't very interested. They all ended up getting disillusioned and quitting swimming partway through their senior year. I don't want that to happen to your kids. That's why I want to help you get started in plenty of time and stay organized along the way. And this is exactly why I started College Swimming Guide. I've prepared all the information and materials that I would have wanted. There's a lot of free information on my website and via the emails, but College Swimming Guide members receive action items at the beginning of each month, spreadsheets of conference championship meet times, spreadsheets of top event times at all college swim programs, email templates for contacting coaches, lists of questions to ask coaches, a forum to interact with other College Swimming Guide swim parents, and a directory of all college swim programs with academic info such as mid-range SAT and ACT scores and input from college coaches on a variety of topics, ranging from typical practice schedule to whether they offer scholarships to what they're looking for in a prospective athlete. So far, the feedback I've received from college coaches has been very positive about College Swimming Guide. In fact, one of the coaches was so enthusiastic, she said it would have been useful to her and her family. If kids are more prepared through the recruiting process with realistic expectations, it makes life easier for the college coaches, club coaches, and for you. The price of a membership to College Swimming Guide is $149. This lasts through all 3 years of high school or whenever you join, so there's no reason to wait. Most of the information I covered here is available on my website. Please sign up for the mailing list so that you receive the regular blogs and videos, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you so much for listening.